Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
Genesis 22 is a whole chest of treasure, all on its own. That's why we're spending the entire week on it. God called Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac on Mount Moriah. Have you ever heard of the significance of this specific mountain? Scholars tell us that Mount Moriah later became the Temple Mount, the place God led David to choose for Solomon to build the temple, the place where thousands of sacrifices would be made by Abraham's descendants, within eyeshot of the place that God would later make the ultimate sacrifice of his son. So Mount Moriah would play a huge part in human history. Of course, Abraham didn't know any of this yet. He only knew what God had called him to do. When Abraham saw the mountain, he left the donkey there with his servants, and he and Isaac continued alone. The Bible gives us a peek at what he's thinking at this point. In verse 5, when he tells his servants, "Stay here with the donkey, and the lad and I will go yonder and worship, and we will come back to you." Notice that little word, we. Abraham had faith that no matter what happened on that mountain, they both would be back. Somehow God would work it out. All his promises depended on a live Isaac, not a dead one. Hebrews 11:19 tells us what Abraham was thinking as well, that God was able to raise Isaac up from the dead. Wow, what faith! It's one thing to believe in resurrection after Jesus did it, but for Abraham, there was no precedent whatsoever. Everyone who died in all those genealogies had stayed dead. But Abraham knew that his God could do anything, and he acted on that knowledge when God called him to. Now, God would not ask us to kill our firstborn, but he does put us into situations where only our faith that he can do anything can get us through. When we don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, we just have to trust that God will give us a light for our next step and the next and the next, and that he knows the path that he put us on and that he's in control. Sometimes, however, when we're in the midst of one of those kinds of crises in our lives, we may not remember those truths. When life spins out of control, we can pray that God would remind us with a verse or even a command of "do not fear." And when we get through a difficult time, we need to keep an eye out for others who are going through this so that we can encourage them as we have received encouragement. Do you believe God can do anything? Are you living like you believe it? Who can you encourage with these truths today?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.